So, all right, guys, thank you. Thanks again for hopping on tonight. Like I said, we're gonna try to keep it to 35 minutes, 40 minutes. If we have to, we're gonna try to keep it an hour at maximum because we want to be respectful of your guys' times and kind of what you guys got going on. So just to start off, I just want to introduce myself for those that may not know me, even though all you guys probably know me by now. But I'm Ryan. I'm from Harrison, New York. I'm currently intern with the Detroit Tigers, and I'm interested in player development. So as we go around, we'll go to Chris next. But as we go around, if we can just kind of keep that same format, your name, where you're from, who is your current employer, and also it's kind of like whatever you're up to now and where you live. So Chris, if you want to
Sure.
kick that off.
Yeah, definitely. Name's Chris Reyes. I'm from Stratford, Connecticut. This is my second year in professional baseball. Last year I was with the Houston Astros. This year I'm with Miami Marlins. And my area of interest is amateur scouting specifically. But right now I'm in more the PD side and pro scouting right now.
All right, and we'll just keep going around. So Joseph, if you want to go next, followed by James, Ben, Andres.
Yeah, I'm Joseph Yanchek. I want to go into baseball operations, but I'm also interested in player development. Right now, I'm a student. I'm going to be a freshman at West Virginia University, and I just want to let you all know in advance that.
I can't hear him.
Hey Joseph, I think we lost your connection a little bit.
Gotta start over.
Yeah, hey Joseph, you got to start over with that. You kind of cut out.
Hello.
Hey Joseph, yeah, sorry man, you cut out a little bit.
That's what I was going to say is that my internet is doing very poorly right now. So if you guys
You're good.
if I don't respond to you guys and you guys say something to me, don't take it as disrespect or anything, and I might not answer just because I have no idea what's happening right now. But
Yeah, no problem, no problem. All right, thanks, man. James, you're up next.
Yep. So I've been writing for now 2 years. Pretty much do a lot of covering drafts because we get amateur side and some of the best ones coming through Chicago, which is where I'm based out of. I'm based out of northern Illinois, which is McHenry, so I'm about an hour from King County and an hour from Beloit. So I see a lot of Midwest league. So I do like the player development and seeing it all come through the amateur side through that first full season of pro ball.
All right, thanks. Sounds good. Ben, you're up. Ben, you there?
Hey, my name is Ben. I'm working with the Texas Rangers, and I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I'm interested in player development.
All right, thanks, Ben. Andres, you're up next.
I'm Andres DeMarcos from Gainesville, Florida. I work in player development analytics with the Detroit Tigers currently. I run their track man for spring training, and I was supposed to be with our high A team. Obviously, that's not happening, but yeah, so I'm interested in player development analytics, player development, or scouting. They all go hand in hand, so
Awesome.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Andres. Andrew, you're up next. Let's hear it.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, my name's Andrew Boateng. I currently live in Toronto, Canada, and right now I'm working for the Toronto Blue Jays in retail, and I'm interested in scouting and player development.
All right, guys. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. For the first few minutes, Chris and I are just gonna go over a few sort of like housekeeping things and things that we would like to address as well. Well, put 1 second. We have two more people that are looking to join. It looks like Jack is coming on, and
Cool.
it looked like we had Gabe, but all right. Sorry about that. Jack, you there?
Yeah, I'm trying to be.
All right, cool. No, you're good. Looks like Gabe is joining as well. So we'll have them introduce themselves to the group, so they can, and they can see your guys' names. All right, Jack, you there, or Gabe? Yes.
Yeah, let me try to. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, let me try to get this working.
You're good. All right. Well, Jack's getting that working. Gabe, if you just want to introduce yourself to the group, just say your name, where you're from, currently what you're doing and kind of your area of interest.
Yeah, sure. So what's up, guys? My name's Gabe. I live in Jersey. I currently work for Major League Baseball in the replay department, replay division, whatever you want to call it. I'm a administrator for them, and I'm pretty interested in, I'd say, pro scouting, analytics, something up that alley there, for long-term goals. So.
Awesome, thanks. So Jack, just to reiterate, if you can just say, just introduce yourself, where you're from, what you're currently doing, and kind of your area interest.
All right. So, hey, everybody. My name's Jack. I live on Long Island. I currently work for the Long Island Ducks in group sales. The Ducks are in the Atlantic League. So, on top of group sales, it's pretty much everything in minor league baseball. So, I got a little bit of experience in a lot of different areas. But the main thing I really enjoy doing is I translate a little bit for the team, and that's pretty fun. So I'm thinking about exploring that a little bit more and maybe getting into administration in terms of like, player visas and housing and stuff like that.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So, for Gabe, Jack, and the rest of the group, like I said, just to reiterate, Chris and I just want to take a few minutes to address some housekeeping things of experiences that we've had in the industry that we want to share with you to kind of help you guys get, a good foot in the door going with everything that you guys want to do and accomplish. So, we're going to kick that off, and then we're going to go into we're just going to open the floor with some Q&A, and then we'll wrap it up in a little bit. So, Chris, if you want to get started, we'll get to it.
Yeah, you just want me to kind of touch on like just industry tips and just kind of like, I mean, I could tell my story, but just briefly.
Why don't we share just share the PowerPoint so everyone can see it?
Yeah, I think, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah,
I mean, we can still talk about other things. We just have it up. That way they can see it if they want.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. So, Andres, I can click away. Just so, we can all talk about this together, but this is just some like baseball industry tips that Andres came up with. And he wanted to present it to the group, and you all have it in an email. So we'll get started with that with Andres.
Okay, hi guys. So I was just thinking last night, like, what's the whole point of this? Obviously we all want to work in baseball. Obviously I'm not full time by any means, but I finally got my break. So however you want to call it. So I want to share my experiences with you, my advice that I've gotten from scouting departments, scouting, personal scouts, cross checkers, whatever. So how to break in, it is very difficult. It took me 2 years after my graduation from getting my bachelor's degree in sport management to even touch on pro ball. I started out at FIU the fall after my graduation, spent 10 months down in Miami working 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. doing anything and everything between setting up for practices, data, laundry, etc. I was pretty much Mr. Everything for the team. It takes a lot of persistence. In my experiences with FIU, I did want to quit. Within the first 3 months of doing it, I questioned whether this is what I wanted to do, and I almost went home, and I decided not to give up, that this was what I wanted to do. I didn't want to work an office job, so I went for it. You will get 100 no's when you apply. It's going to take a really long time for you to get your first interview. Obviously, you might not get 100, but you know what I mean. You're going to get a lot of no's before you get your first yes. Just don't give up. Volunteer. They love to see volunteer experience. First thing they would ask me was FIU. Every question was, what did you do for the team? Were you a paid staff member? Were you not? Anything you can do. College programs, facilities, high school teams. It doesn't matter where you start. Of course, it's where you finish. And number one tip I would want you guys to take from this is don't be a know-it-all. People hate interviewing someone who thinks they know everything. And I was told in baseball, once you know everything, you're done. Because there's things that you're going to learn throughout your journey that, you may not have even thought of even, containing that, what do you call it, information. So yeah, and then you can go to the next slide.
Awesome. Yeah, Chris, is there
Or
anything you want to
if
add?
you have questions, yeah, you want to add anything?
Oh yeah, I just had like three kind of like key things that I thought were kind of important in my process in terms of just kind of the journey itself. And for me, it's just kind of like finding the area of focus. I know we kind of asked everyone what their area of focus is. Once I kind of found my area of focus in amateur scouting, teams kind of really found that appealing in the sense that I kind of knew where I saw myself in the next 5 years. I know you get that question a lot in interviews, so I think it's really important for you to answer that confidently. Also, if an organization doesn't have an opportunity for you, it kind of helps them kind of assist you with the future opportunities. If you know what you want to do and they interview you, but they don't have the spot open, like it kind of gives you that opportunity when it comes up, if that makes sense. And then just kind of shifting over, in terms of just application process and whatnot, your resume is never going to be enough. Every resume is similar, and you kind of have to separate yourself from the rest of the crowd in terms of research papers that you might do in college, you might do on your own, scouting reports, and just projects that you could physically show teams. Because then once you could physically show a team that you have an understanding of the organization, they'll really kind of get an understanding of your skill level and whatnot. So definitely, if you haven't already, just take the initiative and compose your own projects. It doesn't have to be 100% right. Just show that you have put the effort in and, show that you want to be in the industry. And then last thing is just know relevant industry information. Just, for example, like the draft's coming up, know top pro and amateur prospects. Doesn't have to be all of them. Just know 3 of them and be able to talk about them in a manner that you could back up. And then just for me, it's find your focus and be an expert on 1 or 2 things. Don't have a broad understanding on 4 or 5 topics, and be true to your skill set and be true to what you're good at, because that's ultimately what's going to put you up for success in the industry. And that's all I pretty much have on that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Andres and Chris. And I couldn't say it any better. I think, I would keep it nice and short, interpersonal, your relationships that you build with people, knowing what you're saying and backing it up, and be just like clear and concise to the point with what you're saying. And the one thing, like, never say that you're just passionate about baseball, because like they won't laugh at you in your face, but I mean, I think most of us know that's kind of the obvious thing, but you have to have, a valid reason as to why you want to work in player development, why you want to work in scouting. Like, just make sure you have that why. Like, what's your why is what I would say. But thanks guys for sharing. We're gonna head on to the next slide now, and we'll just.
I want to add something real quick.
Yeah.
Kind of a funny story. So make sure you know what you're talking about. I made a mistake during one of my interviews. They showed me a video, and it was a catcher throwing out the runner going to second base, and they asked me, "What is this called?" I was put on the spot. I wasn't prepared, and I told the guy, "Oh, that's a put out. Not a put out. I should have said caught stealing, but since I said put out, they called me and said that I wasn't picked for the job." So make sure you know and you're prepared for anything in the interview. I was not prepared.
No, that's good. Yeah, preparation's key, and it's good to hear. But yeah, we'll head on to the next slide, and we'll just try to keep it brief, because everyone probably knows about these things. So let's just keep it brief, and as we can move through this and discuss, the questions we have in our discussion. So I'll kick this one off, and so like as we all know, volunteer internships are important. Most of us have internship experience or job experience. And like for Joseph, like this is important for you as you go to West Virginia, try to work with the baseball team because you want to work in scouting, and they're going to have mostly all the technology that pro teams are using. You're going to work long hours in baseball. Everybody knows that by now. And just keep yourself busy. Like this time that we have in quarantine is like really critical. You can work on your professional development skills. Like you may have to spend some money on some resources, but it'll be worth it in the end, and kind of put you forward ahead of other people that want to be in the same position that you want to be in, and just like continue to find ways, to get yourself better, and always ask questions, and if you don't think you're doing enough, and like as Andres mentioned at the bottom, teams want a self-starter and a go-getter. Like they want to see someone who takes initiative, is proactive, doesn't have to be told what to do. And I think that's critically important. And Chris or Andres want to add anything quickly that they think that I haven't said, but I think getting, you're gonna have to do a few internships before that full-time job. We all want a full-time job, and that's our goals. But you have to put in the time and the effort in order to get there, and prove your worth.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything else. Any questions from anyone? Or if not, we could just, you want to go on to the,
my main thing is just make sure that, whatever position you're at, give it your best. And, you might be done for the day, or let's say you have an hour left to work, find something to do in that last hour. Don't just say, oh, I'm going to go home. Because if a coach sees that, they're going to say, oh, this guy, he doesn't want it. They want to see someone who's willing to go the extra mile. And, sometimes it's a test. Even as a player at FIU, they had a catcher who would have made the roster had he fought for his spot. So you got to think about it as fighting for your spot every day within the organization, regardless if you're a player or in baseball operations. So they're going to find someone to take your spot if you don't show initiative.
All right. So just to speed some things up, so this is just, as you can see, this is like a fake scouting report, but there are some of you who want to go into scouting on here, and Chris Reyes specialized, that's what he wants to do. He specialized that, and he has a good idea about it. So I'll let him talk more about scouting here.
Oh, definitely. For me, like I just had, like obviously we wanted to kind of talk about the draft a little bit too. So I just had a few questions on that. But I mean, this is just basic scouting report. Just kind of 5 tools. I mean, pretty basic: hitting, power, speed, arm, field, base running. In terms of like position, every position kind of has like a certain tool that they need to like excel at. For example, like an outfielder, center field would be, you'd have to have excellent speed as well as a good hitting tool, and that's kind of classify them as center fielders. And that's more on the pro scouting side. Is more on the classification when it comes to just trading, like trades and whatnot. On the amateur side, it varies. But in terms of that, like usually they look for specific things when it comes to drafting certain players. Like obviously a first baseman, their main tool is power. I mean, they're not gonna run a six flat or whatever. They're gonna be very powerful and just basic fielding. Like no first. I mean, I can name a few first basemen that are very athletic, but their main tool is going to be power. So that's just kind of some things you could take away from this. And like I mentioned before, just if you're not like an expert on writing reports, I was never an expert on it. It's just kind of skill you do over time, and you're able to kind of just develop with just watching players and watch. Obviously now we can't really watch anything, but videos acceptable. But obviously you never get the full understanding until you go out and see them. And that's all I have for that. And this is you right here, the player development. I know if you want to go into that, or if we have any questions, I mean, we can go into questions.
I wanted to add something on the scouting part. I was told by a Reds prospector, you can never evaluate a player until you see him in person. He goes, I don't want a scout that looks at video or goes home early and watches video on a player and writes it up based on video. That's what he told me word for word. So I mean, I know it's COVID-19. Obviously it's going to evolve. But teams want to see players that you physically see. In scouting, the eye test is a very big tool, and data can only take you so far. Data is to verify what you're putting in your report. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Next one I'll tackle quickly because most of us have a good idea about this as well. Player development analytics. It's big in today's game. We have Rapsodo, Bats, Edgertronic, TrackMan, Hawkeye, Blast Motion, Diamond Kinetics. So obviously these all these technologies are huge. When you're evaluating and developing prospects, just because it provides more informative information to make for the higher ups to make decisions. And you're going to see you're going to see all the technology being used in the minor leagues, and then you'll see some being used in the big leagues like Rapsodo, mostly in Edgertronic, TrackMan, and then as they're going to transition to Hawkeye. But one thing I would say I've learned the most in my experience over the last year, as Andre said it, best attention to detail. Man, that's just saying, do things the right way. Pay attention to what you're doing before you take action. Before you submit something and there's something misspelled. Just focus on the little things, and then the big things, will become easier to achieve. And there'll be, like Andres has mentioned here, there's different requests you'll get, cutting video, pitch overlays, and use it, like maybe you may use Adobe software, or another, QuickTime, and then also you'll be working with TrackMan and Rapsodo data, kind of breaking that down and, using the video that you have as well. And yeah, just like as you said, no room for error. Like you want to make sure you do things the right way, and this way people won't get mad at you, or they won't get mad at you, but they'll just they'll approach you saying you made a mistake, and you just know that you have to correct and not make that same mistake again. That's the biggest thing that I have learned. And then as it says in the bottom, with player development, there's two sides of it: the player development side and developing the athlete, and then there's the number side. And then just at the bottom, we have an example of comparing the two. So as you guys are kind of moving along as we are, these are just some things we want you to think about and be aware of, that this is what you're getting yourself into when you're signing up for a job that Chris and I have, and some others on this group chat, this Zoom call have. So
Yeah.
Did anyone want to add anything, or did I cover everything?
I wanted to ask one thing, just because I know coming up next week, speaking of watching the amateur players live, is anybody going to be at the National for Perfect Game next week?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay, because I'll be out there if anybody else is out there. Just want to mention that, and yeah, no, I think that seeing players live is your best tool. You have to be there in order to get a good evaluation, and just there's a lot of little things that people miss. It might be just somebody running,
And it
and
also
you get an
helps.
extra level.
It also helps to have the data too, because you can't tell velocity off a video either. Like if you're watching a video on a showcase and you see, okay, this guy's throwing 95 off the mound, that's a 70 75 arm. You can't like make a mistake in that sense.
All right, cool. So, kind of like sort of wrapping this all up, what if you're now where you are now? Like, there's two things, like where you are now and where you want to be. So like as Andres has stated here, look for volunteer opportunities to get back in the industry. Show you're dedicated. Once you're back in, don't leave. Like, Chris and I, Andres and I, and I'm sure others on this Zoom call say, we're unsure right now. This is a very uncertain time for everybody. You're not sure which direction you should head in. And then, like as it says here too, when you leave the game, it's hard to get back in. And that's very true, because I don't know it personally, but I just know how hard it was for me to get to the point I'm at. And I wouldn't want to leave the industry and then have to cut, I wouldn't want to do that, for all the work I put in, and just keep hustling. Just keep going. That's what you have to do. You have to separate yourselves from others, and just take it one day at a time, and just keep reaching for the stars. So looks like that's what we got for the presentation. I know it looks like that we're going to run out of time in this meeting, so it looks like what will happen is we'll just have to rejoin, and then we'll be able to go, and we'll conclude things in the next video, as well. But did that cover what everyone was like? It's most things you guys knew already, but is there any other questions that we can kind of talk about in the last maybe minute or so that we have before we get back on that you guys want to talk about?
let's just start the new session.
All right.
Yeah, we could dive into the like draft a little bit, and just kind of see what everyone's ideas on that. And I have a few questions that I could ask the groups, kind of get people thinking, just because I've always had these questions, and they're kind of questions that there aren't really correct or incorrect answers to. So we can kind of
Yeah.
get a
So
conversation on that.
yeah. So what we'll do is we'll end this call right now, and then we'll join back in immediately, and then we'll get started and we'll talk about that. So all you have to do is just click on the link, and then I'll add you guys back in. We'll be able to talk, and we won't have to go through this again since we'll finish up with 20 minutes or so in.
All
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys. All right, cool. Yeah, so thanks, guys. We will get back to what Chris was talking about in the draft. So Chris, if you want to start to kick it off, no, that'd be great.
For sure. Yeah, for me, I think this year's draft is definitely interesting. I guess if you guys have any specific questions regarding the draft, like, I mean, I've always just had specific questions just regarding just the process certain teams to take. Like, obviously, with now analytics and just kind of like the human observation is a question I always have. So, like, the question I like to ask is, like, how do you think, like, organizations kind of blend using analytics such as TrackMan data, Rapsodo, with the human observation of, like, a scout, and kind of how do you think they use that in their decision-making process when they're going to select, the top, 10 picks or so? Like, it doesn't have to be that, but just, I guess, any thoughts on that, or like how do kind of people view like the inside, like just kind of looking in from like the outside and just looking in, like, what do people think teams do in terms of like the amateur scouting side?
So my question would be, with this year, with the coronavirus and the season being cut short, how much does the TrackMan Rapsodo come into effect with drafting, let's say, high school players versus being able to see them, because maybe they weren't seen as much this year?
Yeah, definitely. I think this data part of it has always been huge in terms of the high school. They pretty much have to go a lot like off, because like not every high school has TrackMan data in terms of like in like colleges do. Some colleges use Synergy, so that not every scout has to be at the game. You joined.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, looked like
and
Jose just joined. My bad.
yeah, so I guess in terms of like high school, I think they pretty much needed to be seeing them at all the showcases from at least the sophomore year if he's a senior this year. I mean, because typically with that, I mean, if a guy's going to go out of high school when he's that young, but sometimes it's not the case. But I think, like you asked, like, I think there's way more TrackMan data on college guys than high school guys, if that makes sense. Because in terms of like the high school guys, they'd only have it at like the perfect game showcases, like you mentioned, or All American, things like that. Where college, you have everything, and if they're in the Cape, they had that. Like, they play in certain summer leagues, they would have it. But yeah, definitely right now, I think with the coronavirus, it's definitely gonna impact a lot of decision making, and a lot of decision making is going to kind of have to go off the Astros model in terms of like using TrackMan and not having a lot of scouts, because obviously that's what the position that every team was in. So I think that's kind of the way it's going to go. And if you guys kind of have any other questions, or I have a few myself that I can keep on asking.
Yeah, I would just say data is huge now, because it's a way to quantify and show the scouts, hey, this is what I got, this is what you're dealing with. I know I work for a company in Jacksonville. I showed you guys last week. We do the video and the data on the screen at the same time. That's huge when you're seeing a picture live, and then you can say, oh man, this 15th his 15th pitch of the game, he threw 85 miles an hour. Or his curveball has a 2,500 RPM. If you can see it live, like I do, it would be like definitely a game changer. And unfortunately, due to the times, that's what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, I think also the thing is, like, to Chris and Andre's point, I think teams already have, they've been scouting these guys for a while, going back to the summer, even longer than that. And they've had this information on them. So it's just about, working with the college guys and working with the high school guys, seeing what high school guys are going to go to college, if they may not get drafted in those 5 rounds. So I think there's a lot of information that's already there that it may or may not make decisions easier in that regards.
I agree. For sure.
Does anybody have any other questions before, Chris and I would throw out some more ideas that we want to discuss on the forum? Or
Well, let's introduce Jose.
Jose, there you are at the bottom. My bad, man. So this is Jose. He'll introduce himself. Jose, just say, just introduce yourself. Where you're from, what you're currently doing, and what you're passionate about, like what your areas of interest are.
Hey, first of all, thank you very much for the
Hey, Jose, you're
being here.
Let's go with
I
it.
just joined the conversation because today, you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you a little bit better
Hello?
now.
Okay, sorry for that. I still have no internet in my new apartment. Today I moved to my new apartment here in Lakeland, Florida, and that's why I have I've been late for the meeting because I was making sure that everything is set up in my new apartment and setting all my computers, and then I realized, oh, Jesus, the meeting. Let me see if I can catch a little bit of the last part of the meeting. I'm Jose. I'm from the Dominican Republic. I currently live in Florida. I used to work with the Tigers, like Moretti and Andres. But due to the situation, the Tigers let us go until everything normalized. I was the international operations assistant, so pretty much my main focus in the organization was develop systems for information and gathering information for scouts, creating players' profiles for each potential class member of each potential player of any class member from the 2020 market until 2022 into 2023, which was the last one we worked before everything stopped. I also did like a lot of Cuban research, which, as in the international department, you cannot scout Cuban players in Cuba. So you need to, in order to know who can be the best future leader or future prospect that is in Cuba, you have to follow a couple of informational procedures that you might be aware of. Pretty much, I'm passionate about sports in general. I love baseball. I love football. I'm waiting to my chance to get a team, to get back into the Tigers team, or if something is much better for when the market's open. And pretty much my areas of expertise, because of the nature of where I come from, is the international department, and I root very hard for an international draft.
Thank you, Jose. That was a great introduction, man. That was very thorough and to the point. Chris, we'll get back to our forum and just like the questions that we have, and leave it open to everyone just to answer, and kind of just, we're here to talk baseball. This is a fun thing, we're here in quarantine, just to see each other. So we'll get back at you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I have questions that I could ask, but
do any of you guys have questions?
Yeah, anyone else have a question? I mean, I could
or
ask
stuff you want to talk about.
I want Andres to share his Keith Law story.
We could do that.
All right, I'll share my Keith Law story. So you guys remember when they were confirming that Judge Kavanaugh back in the day, a couple years ago.
Yep.
He was like they all called him a rapist. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
Yeah.
So there was a thing on Twitter, and I saw his page, and he was just going in on the judge, and I read the facts of the case, and I was like, if a girl gets raped, that's a terrible thing, and the guy should go to jail for life, or he should die. But anyways, the girl didn't know when it happened. Her her friends that she said was there weren't there. They don't remember. She doesn't remember. So nothing was adding up. And I got in an argument with him. I was like, how can you justify, killing this guy in the public eye based on he said, she said? I mean, there's no concrete facts against him. And he just like went off on me, and I was like, dude, I would not ruin a guy's life based on an accusation. Now, if there's facts to back up the accusation, sure, roast him, put him in jail, whatever, do whatever you want. And he was just saying how I was a terrible human being, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even get a chance to respond. Boom, he blocked me. I was like,
Oh, wow.
I was blindsided. And it was like, I'm a very even-keeled guy. Like, yeah, if there were facts to back him up or back her up, and if her friends would have been like, yeah, it happened, I was there, I saw it, then I would be like, all right, this guy's an asshole, take him out. But there was nothing to back her up, so I was like, I can't really, I don't want to ruin a guy's life just based on that. Because I don't know if you remember, there was an Atlanta Falcons football player, his name's Josh Banks. In high school, a girl accused him of rape. He went to jail and he was going to go to USC. He was like one of the top ranked linebackers in the class. 20 years later, he caught her lying. I guess one of his friends got a recording of her saying that she lied about the accusation, and his life was ruined based on that. So that's what I was basing my opinions off. Like, you can't, I feel bad about ruining someone's life, but he did not like that. Let me tell you.
Gotcha. Thanks, Andres, for sharing that. We needed some laughs here and there, but just kind of get things geared back towards like our draft preview discussion tonight and other things that we want to cover on the agenda. We got about like 15 minutes or so before we'll call it a night. But I just wanted to, we'll get back to Chris, and if anyone has questions, please ask them. Like I said, we're just keeping this like as an open forum as well, So, Chris, you want to get back into the questions that we have and just kind of take it off from there?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can keep it pretty broad right now, and then I'll kind of ask a specific question on just more of the top 10 picks, just to kind of hear everyone's input on that. So I guess when kind of like doing the evaluation process, like what resources or technologies do you think scouting departments could use right now that aren't really being used heavily in today's like evaluation process? So I just wanted to hear people's input on that, just because obviously the main ones that we know are video, TrackMan, just word to mouth, speaking to their teammates, their coaches, doing home visits. But what are some other things that you guys think with all the technology we have today and just the resources that we have and the information that we can gather on players, like what do you think teams could use more that they aren't using right now? Ryan, any ideas?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think TrackMan's good, but I think it's like I think the next wave of things will be like a virtual reality type of thing. I mean, you can't really assess that with like a player that's not in your organization yet, but maybe kind of diving into more of like the biomechanics side of things. I got on base U certified with hitting and pitching. That I thought it was really cool because it opened my eyes to different things and when you're like analyzing a player. So if you could kind of see how they move just by like, instead of just seeing it, have like, if you're able to run a test with them, kind of see if they're mobile and stable, like in these different areas, I think is huge when you're evaluating talent. Just because, there's the eye test, but then you really, I think seeing what they can actually do based off of an actual test, is important too, because you're investing a lot of money in them.
No, definitely. I think like kind of having like a technology that could pretty much evaluate a player and kind of see if his arm action is going to be injury prone in the future, or if even a swing, because a swing could blow out your shoulder as well. So I think if that kind of is created over time, and to where you could analyze a video and you could kind of pinpoint an injury, or just kind of get that information of is he going to be injured in the future, or is he likely to be injured by the his arm action, or is he using too much bottom, is he using too much top half when he's throwing, and then obviously just kind of seeing that direction, like you mentioned, the biomechanics side, I think is going to get intertwined with all the data and the video input together, which is happening right now. But I think that's definitely a good point that you mentioned.
Yeah, I think force plates too. If depending on
Yeah.
I don't know how much colleges even use force plates, but from my experience, I think force plates are a new thing that I've experienced, and I think that just showing how much force they're able to put in the ground, when they're performing an action. I think that's important too, because you're looking to see about their power and the lower half as well. And I think being able to analyze like I've said just before, biomechanics is huge, and I think it's something that's probably not seen or not evaluated as much. So I wonder what your guys' takes on that are, or what you think about that.
For me, when I look at a hitter, I pay attention to their back foot. If their back foot comes off the ground, they're losing a ton of power. If they keep the back foot intact with the ground, they're going to put a lot more force on the ball. That's one thing I was taught by our recruiting coordinator at FIU. He's now the scouting director for Perfect Game. That was the number one thing that I took away from my experience with him, is when you're evaluating a hitter, you have to look at the back foot, because, ground contact is very important. Okay. And that goes with the force plate, as Ryan was saying. That, because you can tell if someone's, lifting their foot or losing any power.
Sounds good. Does anyone else want to share their opinions or their thoughts, or
any questions on the draft and things like that?
One of the things that I noticed in the last year, just from watching, I watch a lot of ESPN3, a lot of ACC baseball, and one of the schools that's really good, that's ahead of the game on as far as biomechanics and the science and everything, is Wake Forest. And they've had. Would you see what Jared Schuster was able to do this past year? Kind of just developing, getting better. They got another guy like Ryan Cusick, who's for next year's class, but they just been really good at working with pitchers, being able to allow them to stay healthy, which is one of the biggest parts, I think, in player development.
My boss created their pitching lab. He helped develop their whole player development thing when he was at Wake Forest.
No, that's a good question. Yeah, Jordan. Yeah, me, Jose, and Andres, we work with Jordan, and he definitely has a good idea of that. It's nice to see college teams are having success by using these resources, and it's allowing guys that were under the radar to become, get on the radar.
I have a question for the people that want to become scouts.
All right, let's hear it.
All right. So when you're evaluating a pitcher, when you look at his fastball, do you factor in control and command, or do you go based off of velocity only?
It's control and command, I would say, because you can throw hard, but what is the movement? If it doesn't have movement and it's flat, you can throw 100 and you'll still get hit by major league hitters.
Right.
That doesn't.
We want to pick your guys' brain.
Is being able to throw that pitch in the zone to get outs.
Do you think that they should grade the pitchers pitch only, and then say have a separate section that's for command, or I guess what I'm trying to say is, should you put it just all together, like curveball? Should you grade him on the curveball command, curveball accuracy, or slider, or should you just do, hey, his fastball is this, his curveball is this, overall his command is this, or should you do it each pitch by pitch?
That's a good
Yeah,
question.
I think right now they, like in the section like where it's like comments on like fastball, curveball, slider, they'll say, you know, fastball commands well, slider needs to work on command, like lacks command. But overall, like there is a section where you can talk about his command as well. But yeah,
what
I
I'm
think
talking about is the grading. So I'll give you an example. Like Asa Lacey, I looked up his scouting report. They had him as a 70 for his fastball. Now, they also said he lacks command of this fastball. Now, for me looking at it, if someone's lacking command, but he has high velocity to his pitch, I would, lessen his score to 65, 60. But I don't think that that's what scouts look for. They're basing it off of the velocity because he's a 70. If he's a 70, that's, you know what I mean?
right.
I think they might take more weight to velocity because you can't really, you can work on your velocity, but you can't really teach velocity.
Right.
I think it's a lot easier to work more on control. Even though I do think command is in a league of its own, because I don't think you can really teach command just because that's just, you're born with it. You're able to hit your spots right where you need them to, but control, you can definitely work on it, I'm sure, with lots of practice and lots of pitching and stuff like that. But you can't teach velocity. So I think that's why they might give more weight to velocity.
So that's
For sure.
that's what I was going off of. I just think sorry, my dad's getting some paperwork. The command should be graded separately from each pitch. Each pitch should be individual based on velocity, in my opinion. Because like Joseph said, you can't teach velocity. So I just wanted to pick your guys' brain on that with scoring.
Yeah.
No, Andres, that's a good question.
I
think score control.
James,
it does. How well does it play? Again, like I said, movement. Like with Lacey, his fastball, he's not always touching 97 with it. He's sometimes 93. But the thing that I think got him a 70 grade fastball is if you watch him against Nick Gonzalez, he strikes Nick Gonzalez out on 3 straight fastballs. That's a good fastball, dude. He's going to play a ton of stuff.
His stats were incredible. He had 24 innings, .75 ERA, 8 walks, and I think he had 46 strikeouts. Like, the guy is insane.
And he was good last year. He was even took it to another level this year.
He was good in high school. I liked him in high school. Can't remember where exactly he was at, but I liked him in high school.
Yeah.
In high school, he was pretty good.
So that's my question.
Yeah.
I had like a specific question just in terms of like now that we're on topic on like specific players, I guess. In like the mock drafts you've seen, or just like your own like ideas, like who do you guys think has the in the first 10 picks, who do you think has the highest ceiling out of all the players? Like it could be any player that just comes up to your head, but who do you think has the highest? Yeah, I agree.
I'm with it, Zach Veen. Definitely highest ceiling.
He's
what do you
one
guys where do you think he's going to go 1 overall?
No, top 4 though.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's going. I believe he's going to go 4.
I'm seeing mocks where he falls to 7 or 8. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, I can't imagine that either. I don't think he's so bad at 5. If he's there.
Torkelson and Austin Martin are going to go 1, 2.
Mm-hmm.
I heard on Baltimore doesn't know who they're going to take yet, though.
I mean, yeah, but the GMs never come out and just tell the whole media like who they're gonna take. Like, like they have a good idea, and I'm sure they know, but they're not gonna. They're gonna say that because they don't want the media to make public event out of it.
Well, plus if you reveal who you want, you don't think other teams are gonna look at it. Maybe someone in front of you is gonna take your pick, or the player might see it as, they want me this bad. Okay, well they can give me this huge signing bonus instead. I'll take even more money. So.
I've been reading Nick Gonzalez might go as high as number 2 to the Orioles.
Yeah, but I mean,
really?
People have been speculating that though too.
think Gonzalo's gonna be number 4.
Huh?
You think so?
Gonzalo's gonna be number 4.
You
It's
think
gonna
so?
be Torque, Austin, Lacey, Gonzalez.
All right. I agree with that one.
That's the Royals, right, at number 4?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a V and Gonzalez kind of flip flops. But I like Vean just because I saw him play live and like 4 times, and I saw like a lot of potential. And ceiling wise, I think being a high school kid, 6'4", 190, I think he has a lot of room to grow, and we'll kind of have to see how it plays out and kind of see who beats each other out. But yeah, that was just my question that I had, and we don't want to take too much more time. I don't know if Ryan, you have anything to add or any other
I think
last minute questions?
I think like in the last minute or two or whatever, like we'll kind of wrap it up on this discussion. But who, like I know Andrew brought it up, but like out of everybody, who's your favorite prospect? We'll go within the draft. Like who's your guys' favorite prospect that you will see drafted, and like where do you project that they may get drafted? And Andrew, you can kind of like comment too, because like I don't know if that's exactly how you worded it, but I'm pretty sure that's close.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. So for me, Zach Veen, I'm hoping he goes to the Blue Jays at 5.
And like why is it like just because you're a Blue Jays fan, or like is there a reason why you want like
so like Blue Jays fan? Blue Jays are obviously, so the Jays are my team, right, as you guys know, and he's number 1 on my board. Like as much as Martin and Torkelson, like they're good too. There's something about him, like somebody that's 6'4", 190, projectable, already has plus power, can project for more, maybe like a 70. I heard somebody said 80, but I don't know if that's gonna be possible. We'll see. It depends on how much he fills up, but I just love those kinds of players, guys that project like him. I love those kinds of players. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good.
I don't know if anybody else wants to answer that question.
Well, personally, I think with the Blue Jays, again, I don't know as much about the Blue Jays as you do, of course, but I'd assume that the Blue Jays would want to go with a more ready player, considering that they've got a lot of young guys who are already starting to reach the majors. So while Zach Veen, of course, has like some of the best potential maybe in the draft, if you could look at other guys who are probably more ready because they play college ball and they've had success, who are going in the top 6, 7 picks, and maybe it would work out better for the Blue Jays if they took a guy who, whenever he's starting to reach his prime, it would work out well with the primes of Bo Bichette, Vladdy, Biggio, so that they can make a run for it one year.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Well, like it would make sense if they took Max Meyer. I wouldn't be opposed to that as well. But like for me, like, what was that? Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I was talking to myself.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Max Meyer is also interesting too, but it's just that Shapiro and Atkins are in their last year. Mark Shapiro, Ross Atkins, they're in their last year of the deal. So who knows what happens, to be honest. But for me personally, I would go for Zach Veen, but I can see them definitely taking like a Max Meyer or like a Emerson Hancock for sure.
Yeah, I think Emerson Hancock's gonna like, cause a lot of people are skeptical about his like injury history, but he definitely, I think like he definitely dropped a lot, but I feel like whatever team does get him, like they will, they'll get for, they'll be excited to see like how he responds and all that.
Well, in my mock draft that I put together, I have him going to the Pirates at 7th.
Yeah. Yeah,
I still think it might be a steal.
I have him at 6. Yeah, Hancock.
I could definitely see it.
Yeah, I got Hancock at 5. I just think there's too many things that people like with him. Where Max Meyer, there's a question mark: is he going to be a reliever? I think that they're close, but I think if you want a starter, you're probably going to lean towards Hancock. He was preseason number 1, and rightfully so. He just seemed like he got hit more this year than what would be expected for the guy who was a top pick.
What about Bryce Jarvis?
But it might be his asking price too that's pushing him down the list.
I heard the Braves with Bryce Jarvis late first round.
Late? Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I think top 10, maybe 11, 12 around there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
If
Toronto.
if you watched him at Duke, he was on his game, especially this year.
Toronto's
I'm pretty
number
sure he threw
5.
a no-hitter.
Yeah, I think he did, and I think he almost threw another one too. I thought.
Yeah, no, he was on fire this year. So hopefully they go off of what because with Nick Gonzalez, they're going off his hot streak. So why wouldn't they take Jarvis on his hot streak?
Yeah, I think he's a legit first round. How early a lot of it's like big question because of signability.
Yeah, I mean,
You could see guys who are with a higher price falling and guys with a lower price going earlier, just so you could save up to get players in the next few picks. So I think that this year there's a lot of play with things. I don't know if that's just me. You guys probably know a little bit more being with the organizations, but that's just my take because I could see saying, "Oh, hey, we'll get a guy who we like here and just kind of backload it."
I feel that, especially with all their losses, they're probably going to try and find a deal. They're not going to try and find someone for the max slot. So maybe instead of Jarvis, they'll go with someone else. So who knows? I wish I was in the mind of a GM right now.
You know, it was interesting. I saw that the Orioles have 6 picks in the 5-round draft, which I thought was interesting because it just obviously this year's so different with the draft, and it's nice to have an additional pick. What do you guys think they like? According to like an organization that you follow, like what do you think? Do you think there'll be more college players drafted? Like how you guys going about like when you're doing your evaluations and stuff like that?
I think it's solid just because of signability, but I think it's a lot of teams still tend to go best available. So I think it's who falls to you there is where you make the decision then.
Right.
Yeah, I think definitely a lot of high school guys who are kind of in the conversation but weren't like definite like top 5 picks. Obviously, the smart decision is to go to college. I mean, Dylan Cruz was surprised me. I thought he was going to stay in the draft and try to go like I don't know, like late second or third round. But I think going to LSU is probably in his favor because he'll go there for 3 years, and I think he'll come back really highly sought after, like he was coming out of Lake Mary High School. I think a lot of just decision making in terms of just do you want to go to college or do you want to try to get drafted this year, sign as a free agent after the 5th round, but I think for everything that happened this year with the bonus and the bonus after the 5th round, I think going to college is probably the way to go if you're kind of fringy on this year's draft.
Sounds good. Before we kind of wrap it up here, does anyone else have any opinions that they would like to add, or just any general questions? Maybe something we haven't covered. We got about like 3 minutes, so I just wanted to open up. If there's any last things, comments, questions, or concerns?
Oh, I wanted to ask a question just of everybody who's been here for the draft. Who is your favorite player that you saw that's going to be drafted this year? If you did get a chance to see somebody in the last year.
A guy I've seen, he plays at the University of Pittsburgh. His name's Chase Smith. He is a really good pitcher, side armor. I don't know if he's going to get drafted, but I mean, if he does get drafted, he'll probably be 4th or 5th round.
Is that a biased opinion because your brother plays there too?
No, he's a closer. He's really hard to hit. It's just the way where his arm slot is, really unhittable. And last year he did really well, and this year he was doing well until they canceled the season.
Awesome.
I don't know if he'll get drafted though, so we'll see. Maybe he signs as a free agent. But that's just a name to live out for, Chase Smith.
Awesome. Sounds good, guys. Appreciate you guys, all coming on tonight. For those that are new to this week's video chat, Chris and I and a few others, Andrew, we kind of started this all up, just as in quarantine, we're all like trying to connect with each other and just talk baseball since there isn't any right now. But we want to keep this going. We want to split it up, maybe a few times, 1 week we spend on just scouting, 1 week spend on player development, but in the Google Doc that I've created, and if you guys like think of things throughout the week that you want to talk about that you're wondering of like how you can better yourself to get into the industry, that would be better. That'd be good for me and Chris. when we're kind of going through an outline of like putting things together, how we can best do that and aid the discussions. Because like I said, we want this to be fun. We want to just be an open forum, kind of like we did. And I thought it went really well tonight. But I just want to thank you guys for coming on and stay connected through the group chat.
Definitely.
Sure.
Chris, any last words you want to say before we head off, or?
No, yeah, I think just write a lot of questions in the Google Sheet, so then we could kind of pinpoint a few of those, and then obviously there's always going to be questions on the spot, but I think it went smooth today, and it was good to meet everyone who I haven't met before, and yeah, let's get excited for the draft, I guess. It's the only thing we kind of got right now, so.
How is everyone spending the draft tomorrow?
What
are you guys going to be doing tomorrow?
Watch it on ESPN.
Okay.
Yeah, right there, right in front of my TV.
Yep. I'm going to be rooting for two guys who I know personally who got a chance to be drafted tomorrow, Ed Howard and Bobby Miller. So
nice.
pulling for those guys. They'll be in there to see where they go.
Nice.
Awesome.
Good luck, sir.
All right, guys. Well, yeah, enjoy the draft. We'll be in touch through the group chat. We'll try to meet up again next week on Wednesday, though. We try to stick to Wednesdays. We try to do this for like an hour. Maybe we'll go 7 to 8 again. But if you guys just stay in touch with the group chat, that'd be greatly appreciated. And any feedback you can provide to Chris and I about how we can make this better. We're here to help you guys. We have a lot of learning to do as well, so we want to use this. We can communicate with you guys, help you guys, and it work kind of as a two-way street. So just want to say, enjoy the draft. Stay in touch, and hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, everyone.
You too.
See you guys.
See you guys.